Hello, everyone. I want to welcome everyone to our Clinical Trials Toolkit series for Fall 2023. Today's session is titled, It's Me, Hi, I'm the Problem, It's Me. Clinicaltrials.gov, Problems Defined and Explained. Swift Review of WVCTSI Center of Excellence Standard Operating Procedures, SOPs. Our presenters today are Tara Riddle and Debbie Lee. Welcome, Tara and Debbie, and thank you so much for presenting today. For the audience on Zoom, please write your name and email address in the chat for attendance purposes. Please indicate CE beside your name and email address if you would like to receive continuing education credit. I will follow up via email with the continuing education form that will need to be completed. If you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or you can write it in the chat box. I'll be monitoring the chat throughout this meeting. Without further ado, please welcome Tara and Debbie. Tara, can you please start? You're going first.
Sure. Sure. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
For my presentation.
Now let me mute myself.
Okay. So for all you Swifties out there, we did name it, or I came up with, I asked Debbie if we could call it Hi. It's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me. Because about the same time that Debbie asked me to possibly present this topic with clinicaltrials.gov, Taylor Swift's song with this title came out, and it just seemed fitting to me. Anyway, so what we're going to talk about today are what I'm going to go over is clinicaltrials.gov problems and how they're defined and explained, and some other just quick topics with clinicaltrials.gov and things that we see that are typically easy fixes to prevent problems as well. So a little bit about myself. I am the compliance coordinator for clinicaltrials.gov within the Center of Excellence at WVCTSI. I can assist investigators with the compliance and making sure that all of the rules and regulations for primarily the FDA final rule is followed. However, there are other entities like the NIH, the publications, the ICMJE, and things of that nature that also have their own regulations that we need to follow as well. I can also answer any questions about entry of their protocol or their results. I can also assist in entry of protocols and results. I have a BA in counseling and rehab from Marshall, and a Master of Social Work at WVU. I've got about 23 years of experience now in the healthcare arena, and several of those years were spent at a clinical research organization managing programs that were nationwide for pharmaceutical companies and related to orphan diseases. Some fun facts about myself. Again, if you saw my last presentation, you all know that I am the mom to the cutest kid ever. And in addition, some people are fascinated to find out that I have 3 nieces and 4 nephews that are all adults and closer to my age than my siblings actually are. My siblings are much older than myself. And therefore, I'm not only an aunt, but I am a great aunt 10 times over. and they are my pride and joy alongside my own kiddo. So I'm pretty informal, so if you all have questions or want to ask anything during the presentation, please raise your hand, and Maia or somebody will let me see that you have a question, or just speak up. So clinicaltrials.gov is a platform that's used by and maintained by the National Library of Medicine through the NIH. And what it is for is it's a public database that patients, anybody actually, can go to and look up what clinical trials have been completed or what clinical trials are currently being offered, or on the sometimes before even recruiting has started. You can see if there are any clinical trials for any disease or device that you might be interested in, either personally or professionally. It's also it's the primary way to show transparency in clinical trials and ensure patient safety as well. As you can see, there's some, primary uses of clinicaltrials.gov, and I've talked about several of those on there, but there are a few more listed there as well that you can see. Some helpful terms when going into clinicaltrials.gov to understand are the protocol registration system. So there's two different sites, actually. There is the public-facing clinicaltrials.gov website, and then there is the investigator study coordinator side that is called the protocol registration system. It's ct.gov, or it's clinicaltrials.gov PRS. And you'll hear me reference the PRS system. You'll hear a lot of other people reference the PR system. And that's the actual system where investigators go and register their trials to be reviewed. There's a team at the NLM that actually reviews the entries, either both protocols and results, to determine that they are appropriate and completed appropriately, not only for the regulations, but also when it is public facing, it's understandable to the public. So when you are registering something, you want to kind of keep that in mind, that it might not be other scientists or people with a science background reading this. It could be any lay person reading this. And so it needs to be in as understandable terms as possible. The sponsor is typically an organization, an institution, or an individual that is responsible for the registration. And the principal investigator could be the individual responsible, or also known as the responsible party. And we'll get into that in just a second. But the principal investigator in the PRS system, there can only be one responsible party. So it is typically the principal investigator, and there has to be one lead person. You can input as many co-investigators as you want, but there's one person that has to be designated as that person that is the responsible party. Registration, you've heard me say that word a couple times already. That's the actual act of inputting the protocol into the system. And once it's registered, you will get assigned, that protocol will be assigned, that study will be assigned an NCT number. And the NCT number is just the number that is designated through clinicaltrials.gov. And a lot of publications also require you to have an NCT number prior to publication. That way people can reference clinicaltrials.gov, and it's just another layer of accountability, transparency, and patient access and safety to the most current available studies. Informed consent, I think we probably all know what informed consent. The reason why it's important to talk about in reference to the PRS and clinicaltrials.gov is because it is now part of, since 2017, it is now something that needs to be uploaded. You need to upload a copy of your informed consent, and it needs to be designated in your informed consent that the patient can find information about the study on clinicaltrials.gov. So, you know, if you're helping a PI write the protocol, or if you're, you know, helping gather all those forms and things, just keep that in the back of your mind. If it is a trial that needs to go on clinicaltrials.gov, then that needs to be, you need to make sure that that is in the informed consent. FDA 801 and FDA 802 are the two sections of the Food and Drug Administration's Amendments Act that mandates the trials, and then also discusses the results and how they need to be presented as well. And if you just Google FDA 801 or FDA 802, you can read the full regulations there. Any questions so far? Okay. Applicable clinical trials, or ACTs, you'll hear me reference that as well, are the studies that need to be uploaded per FDA and subject to the FDA regulation. There are also other categories that do need to be uploaded into clinicaltrials.gov, not just applicable clinical trials, but these are the key criteria for a clinical trial to be considered applicable. And they have to be controlled clinical investigations, FDA regulated drug, biological device, human subjects, adverse event reporting, data submission, and some studies do get exemptions. But if you have any questions about if a trial is an applicable clinical trial, you can also just reach out to me, and I can review your protocol, and or there's a bunch of different checklist and things that I can provide to you to help you make that determination. One thing that we've developed is, I'm not going to go through this decision tree, but we do have on hand a decision tree that can help investigators determine if the trial needs to be registered on clinicaltrials.gov. The tree on the left-hand side is the tree that goes through all of the different reasons why a trial might need to be registered. On the right-hand side is the NIH's definition of a clinical trial decision tree, and that is straight from the NIH. So you can, if you want those, or have an investigator that's struggling, if they need to make that determination or not, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to provide them those decision trees. The responsible party, I didn't put it in the overall terms because I felt like it needed to be on its own slide, actually, because the responsible party is the person that is responsible for basically the whole shebang, from start to finish. And typically the responsible party is the principal investigator, at least here at WVU. That's typically who we put. Sometimes it's a sponsor if it is like a drug company or something like that that is taking the lead. And in those instances, typically the pharmaceutical company or device company are the ones that are in control of the clinical trial in the PRS system, and it's not us. So they are responsible for registration, all of the updates, which there are timelines for updates, results reporting, and compliance. So the responsible party is also the person that is held to the fires if they are out of compliance, or if a trial didn't get registered, or results weren't entered in the time frame that they needed to be entered in. They are the people that could potentially have penalties assessed to them. Some of the ongoing responsibilities, you know, there are times when records need to be transferred, like if there's staff changes, or if an investigator actually leaves our facility and someone else is taking over the responsibility of that investigation, then that needs to be transferred over. And again, it falls to both the responsible parties, the one that's leaving and the one that is taking it over, to maintain and ensure that the responsibilities or the regulations are followed. We do have to go in and update the record every 12 months or once a year. It needs to be updated. If you know your investigator is going into the PRS system to look at their trial, there's a validation date that they can go ahead and update. But if that is not updated every 12 months, then it does flag for a problem or an error. All of these have errors attached to them if they're not followed, which is kind of a warning, or a way to get your to understand what the issue is. And as I was saying, you know, failure to follow those regulations or update the information on clinicaltrials.gov, it can result in penalties. Some of the once the responsible party has entered the protocol or information, and it might not be the responsible party can, or the primary principal investigator can assign someone like myself, or maybe a study coordinator, someone else, to enter in the information for them. But the first step in getting this registered is, once it is entered, that the entry complete button is pushed, and then it moves it along the path. So pushing that button right there is very important, and it is actually one of the reasons the most errors that we find in the system are because these buttons don't get pushed. So I put this slide in red, because 50% of the errors that I see would go away in less than a second if both those buttons were pushed. So releasing a record, if once everything is done and the principal investigator has reviewed it and agrees with everything that's entered into the system, they need to, once they log in, have done their review, they'll need to select the approve button, which is in the exact same place as the entry completed button. And then you can see it moves across to approved, released, PRS review, and public. And that shows you the record status, you know, what is actually happening and when it will be inputted into the public viewing. But after you select the approve button, you have to go back and it will automatically update to where it now reads release. And you need to push the release button. Now, I will tell you that they are monitoring the application, the platform, and they're moving to a more cloud-based system. And there's been discussion. They haven't said 100%, but there's been discussion that you will no longer have to select the approve and the release button, but I'm not positive that they're actually getting rid of it yet. I think that they're still going to go for the approve and the release. Again, if you are working with an investigator or you know, are able to view the records in the system, if it is needs released, please release it. Once the record is released, it will go to the PRS review team at clinicaltrials.gov, and they complete their own review. And if they find any issues, they'll send it back and say, you need to fix X, Y, and Z. And typically they tell you what they want to see. And it's very easy for it to be fixed. And the study will reset to in progress, and you'll have to go through that whole approve and release entry complete, approve, release process again. This is supposed to be completed within 15 calendar days of it being returned to you. If nothing is found, if the record goes through smoothly, then it's automatically assigned the NCT number if it is a protocol entry, and it's assigned the NCT number and produced on the public facing site. It might take a few days to get this whole process done, and you'll need to make sure, and that's important to know when you're planning out your study, because if you are going to want to publish in ICNJE journal, then you will need to make sure that you get that NCT number prior to your first enrollment. These are the different types of records that can all have some sort of error or problem. There's the overall study record, there are the results records, document records, or administrative records. So I'm not going to read all of these definitions to you because you will be getting the slides and you can review those if needed, but just know that there are 4 different points in the life of a record that could potentially come back with errors or problems. Error or problem records in clinicaltrials.gov references the records that have issues or discrepancy in their data. And the clinicaltrials.gov team at the PRS team, they actively monitor and review records to ensure that the accuracy, that they're accurate and that they're complete, and that the information is ready for the public to view. There's all kinds of different issues and problems that can occur, and I'm going to show you some slides that have the different types of problems on them. However, I'm not going to go into detail about those because they are there for your reference, and I just included them for you to refer back to. As you can see, it's a lot of information. These are data entry problems, which are typically really easy to correct. And they, the like pending PRS review comments or entry not completed, those will be flags that you can see when you pull up your record. And I'll show you that here in just a moment. And as you can see, most of them, the process to complete for the solution is the same. Basically, look at, open the record, see what the issue is, fix the issue, and then you need to go through the entry complete, approve and release process. And until that whole process is done, the error will still flag. And then it goes back to the PRS team again for them to review. But these are examples of the data entry problems. There are PRS admin problems. This is the one. These are the three that are most common at WVU. Ready for review and approval, never released, and update not released. And it's basically going in to review the record information, approve it, and then release it. The never released means that it's never went to the PRS team at all. Like you just entered the protocol and then it's just set there. The ready for review and approval, it is released for the PRS staff to review, but it's has some sort of issue, and it needs to be edited in some way. And then update not released is pretty simple. You haven't pushed the release button for whatever reason. And then these are the errors that the FDA has started sending warning letters about. And it's primarily late results per FDAA. And these are the ones that the FDA, NIH are really looking at and starting to potentially assess penalties for not having these, not correcting these flags in a timely manner or per regulation. So you can check your problem records when you log in. You can see over here. Now the new system looks very similar to this, except the colors are different. But it has still the same kind of columns that you can look over, and it does have a problem column. And you can see here, entry not completed, never released. That's where the problems with your particular study would be listed. Again, this is just some high-level tips on how to correct issues, data entry errors, missing information, inconsistent dates, format errors. These are a lot of just really the data entry of the information that needs to be tweaked. And I do have some more tips on that as well to help prevent getting some of these errors in the first place. Here we go. Don't ever use I, we, you. Always make sure that you're replacing it with the investigator or with participants. In the actual application itself, you can do control find, and you can look for I, we, you, and see if you have those in there. Typos and spelling errors are not acceptable. You need to define your acronyms and again, the notes, if the PRS team has reviewed it and sent review comments, it pretty much spells out what you need to fix, and sometimes even how to fix it. There is a spelling button. You hit the button and it will check all of your spelling, and it will even highlight the acronyms as well. And this is another place that when you're entering a protocol will show you if it's completed and good, it has a check mark, but if not, then it will show you that there is an error. More registrations get rejected for inadequate outcome measure precision. Outcome measures must be measurable outcomes. It can't just be words. It has to be something that is measurable. This is another way that shows you some tips for how to title your outcome measure and what is an appropriate versus inappropriate example. And again, I'm not going to go through these. You can look at these when you get the slide deck if you need to reference back. There's an outcome measure tips on descriptions. If it's a scale, you need to be specific. You need to tell what type of scale it is, what it's measuring, what the score is, and what the higher or lesser score means. And if the scale is not linear, that's also, make sure you note that as well. Again, this is outcome measure tips for time frames. You need to be specific. Example, baseline week 2, during hospitalization approximately 5 days, post-intervention week 12. Those are all good examples. If multiple time points are included, then you need to make sure that you put the word change in the title, because you're measuring a change from baseline to week 12 or whatever it is. This is just the enormous amount of major comments that you can get. There are 2 pages just like this. I don't know what my formatting issue was and why these are bold. They're not any more important. For some reason, I just couldn't get the bold to go away. But as you can see, there are a ton of different things that the PRS team looks for. And these are what you would get back as comments from them. And again, here's the second page of that. And I just put this slide in here because, we are, my primary job is compliance and trying to get compliance within our clinicaltrials.gov organization. And, once we, try to all work together to get these errors fixed, and off there, the better our institution looks, our institution integrity looks, because all of that information can be found and is public facing. And this is a timeline, the timeline chart, and it tells you per the regulation what needs to be done when. And again, an ACT for FDA, they only require protocol entry within 21 days of your first enrollment. However, if you're going to want to publish in an ICMJE publication, that requires registration prior to the first enrollment. as you can see, there's a bunch of different dates, and you need to keep track of, and I help with that as well. I keep track of those as well, in trying to make sure that people are aware of what their errors are and when they need to be fixed. This is a list of things that need to be updated no later than 30 days after the change occurs. So if your study start date changes from April 12th to June 12th, then you've got 30 days to make that change. Sorry, excuse me, I need a drink. Again, this is more of a reference tool for you than anyway. These are again a different way to look at the timelines and for registration, results reporting, and also the penalties that can occur if you don't uphold to the regulations. Last year, the penalty was $12,316 per dollars per study per day. So it's this year in 2023, it increased to $14,262 per study per day. That means every day that you have late results out there, you could potentially be penalized $14,262. There are also criminal proceedings. People could be indicted for not following regulations. You not only yourself could lose grant funding, but your institution can lose grant funding as well. So it's very important to follow the regulations. And again, you know, this is just the different entities, and the Department of Defense is the same as FDA or the FDA. So here's some take-home thoughts. You know, compliance is vital to upholding ethical standards, promoting transparency, protecting patient safety, supporting scientific integrity, and facilitating informed decision making. You know, it's really out there to ensure that people have access to research. You know, if you find out that you or a loved one or a friend has some type of cancer or some type of debilitating lung disease, you know, you want to do everything you can to help people fight what's going on with them and help them with their quality of life or quantity of life. And to do that, you have to have access to the most up-to-date information. And this is one way to be able to do that. And to be able to find that information, not only as a provider, but also as a loved one of someone. You know, it's people often ask me, you know, because I'm a social worker, how'd you get involved in this? And, you know, that's it in a nutshell for me. You know, I want to make sure that everybody out there has access to the most cutting edge therapies that they can, if possible, if they meet the criteria, if you know, it's available to them, then, you know, maybe I can help others that might not have access to that as well. So that's how it fits to me. And I'm sure others here on this call have similar reasons as to why you're in, you know, clinical trials. And again, please reach out to me. That's my email address. If you want my phone number, I can give you my phone number. But just shoot me an email and I'll respond to you as soon as I can. And I can help walk you through this or answer any questions you might have. And Debbie, I know I took up a whole lot of time and I'm sorry for that. But if anybody has any questions right now, I can take those, or if you want to shoot me an email, I can take those as well. But thank you all.
So unlike Tara, I don't have the world's cutest kid, or most adorable kid, I'm sorry. But I do participate in aquatic therapy. And this is my one fun fact I got for you. I actually do, this is Lori Sherlock. This is not me in the water, so don't think I changed. This is body regaz. And now I completely understand why kids love to be swung around in the pool. So they do the stretching, and I'm literally floating and they swing me everywhere and it's awesome. So I pulled for that fun fact just for you all. So let's first talk about registration. I just want to get a clock in front of me. So COE registration. With our Center of Excellence, we do have a registration. So all clinical trials conducted by investigators on the Morgantown Health Science campus of West Virginia University and affiliated academic medical centers must be registered with our Center of Excellence. I know I saw definitely a couple of our partner sites and things on the Zoom today. So if you have a question about that, please feel free to reach out to us for any clarification that you need. All human subject research, meaning the NIH definition, must be registered. And I do all of my SOPs that I'm referencing here. I did put the URL hyperlink at the bottom. And yes, I'm more than willing to share my slides with you after this. So I do have the NIH definition here. So when you go to register, it is part of the KC system now. So it will go through and ask you these questions. Does it involve a human subject? Are the participants prospectively assigned to an intervention? The study designed to evaluate the effect? Is the effect being evaluated a health-related biomedical or behavioral outcome? So once again, when you're putting your information into WVU or WVKC, it will automatically ask you those questions. So once again, you don't have to go out to a separate application to do that. For Encore, there is a minimum footprint. All required fields in the protocol console are completed with system sign-offs and participating affiliate institutions. So thinking about there's a regulatory approval events are completed, your initial IRB approval, amendments, continuing reviews, registration of all consented subjects in your CRA console as well. So making sure you're using Encore, and if you need training on that, and Anya, I didn't see Anya on, but if you need any type of training or have questions about Encore for non-cancer, it's Anya. We can definitely hook you up. And I don't know if I didn't see Layla on either, but we can definitely help you if you need that. So accurate study status, once again, to ensure proper display on the public WVU clinical trial research. So once again, when your trial goes to enrollment, things like that, making sure you're going in and updating that status as it's going through your regulatory documents, starting, enrolling patients. So making sure you're doing that. I know I know Shelley Welch is on the phone. I know every quarter we all get reminded to also update our study statuses, because she pulls out reports for us, because we are NIH, so we do have to provide reports to NIH as well. So protocol and subject deviations, including reports for appropriate reporting. So once again, that is a part of that minimum footprint. So making sure you're doing your protocol deviations and subject deviations in Encore as well. And then safety reporting of serious adverse events. Once again, including completed printed report. It has a really nice report that you can actually print off, provide to your investigator to kind of look at to determine they can answer those questions as well. All required fields in the protocol, regulatory and protocol document storage. So once again, your protocols going in there, your informed consent, your investigator brochure. Also for FDA, if you have an IND or an IDE approval letter as applicable. So once again, making sure that information is being stored in Encore. Okay. Any questions about those two? I'm just going to double check the chat right here. Oh, okay. Just a great presentation. Okay. I was just double checking. All right. For Advara. So Advara, as you know, is actually what Encore is. Advara is the company. So we have Encore, but we also have eReg here as well. And not just here, sorry. It is a application that is available. And it gives you the ability to store regulatory files, essential documents electronically. It really came in handy around COVID because it provides the ability for a validated e-signature functionality for document signatures. I can tell you sending internal envelopes with trying to get doctors to sign them or stalking them outside their office door to try to get their signature and date. This can actually all be taken care of through eReg. And what's really nice is when you have monitors and auditors, you can actually provide them access as well. And that can be remotely. So they don't have to be on site, or they can be on site, but you can still provide them that access. And then validated to FDA standards with audit trails. So what that means is, as we all know that nobody does on this call, we do not share our username and passwords at all. And because when I log in, it's capturing that audit trail behind the scenes. You can't see it, but trust me, I've pulled them out for audits before. You can see it, so making sure they do meet those FDA standards. Once again, I do have the links. This is just a high-level overview of what Advara eReg is. We do, however, have 2 SOPs regarding eReg. So that once again, those are hyperlinked at the very bottom for you. Okay, I think I can get to Jason's favorite SOP, which is, I'm sure, Jason, your regulatory, your external management of audits, right? So the first thing I want to talk about, once again, like Tara, this was just high-level overviews. So if you're sitting on this call and you're like, oh my God, Debbie just talked for 5 minutes and I have no idea what she was saying. Well, you wouldn't be the first person. But B, there are SOPs around this, and I do have additional training. So if you're new and you need that, please let me know. You know me, I always plug additional training. So our regulatory agency audit. So who wants the FDA knocking at your door? No one, right? But do they? Absolutely. And it is their right to do that as well, right? And you know what? To me, I want to know I'm doing things right, because as you all know, I'm a rule follower. So when you get that, you want to act now, because you want to act now because what you want to do, so you have your regulatory agency inspector, and as you know, they can come for a cause, they can reach out to you and say, hey, we're going to come in 3 weeks, things like that. If they happen to show up unannounced, maybe, first thing is place them in a private area, conference room. You want to contact the Clinical Trials Center of Excellence immediately. That is one of the things we are here for. We will help with that. So once again, call us. That is your step 2. So step 1, get them in a private conference room. Don't set them in the lunchroom. Okay, don't do that. Put them in a conference room, then call us. So what we will assist with is establishing the names and credentials of the inspector, because they're going to have those on them. We want to determine the scope of the inspection, right? Is it routine? Is it for cause? And then, like I said, they could call you in advance. Once again, we will help with agreeing on dates, availability in advance as well. And we'll even help coordinate that visit, right? Who doesn't want help with something, right? I'm all about, well, I hate to ask for help, but in this case, I do, okay? We'll distribute information as soon as possible. And who are we going to distribute that to? Just think about if you're working with a sponsor, that needs to go back to the sponsor. There's our WVU IRB. We may not be the IRB of record. So then there's another contact, OSP, WVU, internal audit team. We will help distribute that information as well. So once again, if that is happening at your site, at your department, please reach out to us. Also wanted to talk about sponsor or cooperative group audit as well. It's a little bit different. This time the clinical trials representative coordinates the visit. So this time you guys are actually coordinating the visit. You're distributing the information as soon as possible, but we are also here to provide assistance as needed as well. And we can help with oversight of the audit process. I know the other thing that I have seen done here before at Center of Excellence, if it's a sponsor coming in, you can ask for an internal audit to be done first, because I would much rather have our internal auditor find something, we correct it, we do a CAPA if needed, we do whatever is needed, because I can guarantee that auditor is going to find the same thing, and I can say, you know what, we've already done this, and here's my documentation for it. And once again, distributing that information. Sorry, I got on a tangent. WVU internal audit team, kind of the same thing. Your IRB of record, OSP. So once again, kind of also doing that same thing. I'm going to hit one more slide if you can bear with me, because this is really important. So this is the IT policy for approved technology for research. So PHI, we all know, that is a high risk information, right? I literally was just at somebody's computer, they had HIPAA on it, things like that. So very, very high risk. Personal devices, such as phones, may not be used by any research team member to conduct university activities. And I added in here for low, medium, and or PHI. So no phones, right? No, like your personal phone, right? I can't, pick up my phone and text my patients, things like that. And it's a sensitive data protection standard strictly prohibits the use of personal devices to collect, share, transmit, or store sensitive data. Once again, I'm all about providing the links of where I got this information. I did not just make this up. So once again, I do have the link there for approved technology for research. So if you'd like to read it for further information, you're welcome to do that. So with that, I think with the interest of time, yes, I'm going to give Maria to give me 1 second. Sorry, I'm trying to get to the right slide. There we go.
Well, thank you, Debbie, for sharing your insight and knowledge on SOPs. And please, if you haven't heard it before, place your name, your email address, and CE beside your name if you want a continuing education credit. Slides and attendees list will be emailed to all attendees by next week if you want to obtain like SACRA or ACRB CE. Last but not least, we have our upcoming events, and we would love to see you there. The first event is WVCTSI Clinical Trials Research Training. That training will be held on November 16th at 8:45 a.m. to 12 p.m. Topics covered include clinical trials, requirements, human subject research regulations, and roles and responsibility of all research team members. This is a virtual training, as I mentioned, that will take place on Thursday, November 16th. For more information and to learn how to participate in this training, please feel free to email me at mhaddad@healthsciencecenter.wvu.edu. The second event is about EPIC, billing review, and requesting order sets for new trials. This event will take place on December 1st from 12 to 1 p.m. Our presenters are Mark Misico, Kathy Elswick, and Kim Brannan. Those are the IT folks, so please plan to attend this event. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for Debbie and Tara, and have a great rest of your day.